succession, Estolian traditions, promises we revere, certainty we hold dear.
In addition to the frenetic activity that took place around that period called the tipping point in human history, there were many innovations and alterations to the traditions that framed life in Estolia. While I did not grow up Estolian, I felt as though the changes instituted by the 88th keeper were akin to a renaissance, fueling a rebirth of sorts that was, after the crises and their aftermath, refreshing all who were able to partake of those changes. Once I learned that some of the teaching positions would become permanent occupations within the temple, I decided that I had discovered my future. Anna and I would find great satisfaction living in the new temple village complex that Phoebe designed, and I would find even greater personal fulfillment in realizing my dream occupation, one which my marriage to Anna seemed to cut short. Gento Lucuk and Scrido.
Gregorio had his arm around the shoulders of Yves' assistant as the words of the funeral service flowed over them. While the preacher discussed the ephemeral afterlife and the hope those in attendance had of meeting up with their loved ones at that time, he was thinking about the promises of deity he lived with every day of his life. How different this funeral was from those in Estolia. Even when a couple died at a young age, there was always a sense of the glorious horizon wherein the couple was together again, until time itself ceased to be. His thoughts switched from life and death to the more bounteous joys to be had for a man and his Kaylee. He felt sorrow at the thought of his cousins. The physical relationships they indulged in prior to marriage, prior to gifting their soul to their Kaylee, were shallow, and he was convinced they robbed some of the special magic from their future lifelong and eternal relationships. Would they ever understand what they gave up to experience transient desire and release? He was determined to give of himself only when he yielded up his soul. He pulled Wraith tighter up against his side as he recalled the decision to remain chaste until he found a woman to take his soul. Times like this, when faced with the finality of death and the severing of self and soul from body, he was grateful to the very depths of his marrow for the emotional support he received from his understanding of the promises of deity. He poured so much of his heart and soul into the Zacarian stable in Barcelona that he rarely thought about his lack of feminine companionship. He had 8 months before his own 30th birthday, and he was not sure he would find anyone. However, he felt safe in inviting Wraith to work for him for a year. The time he might take off to get married, in 8 months, would hardly affect her at all. She could work with Lucas or Josiah and would have a lot of correspondence from other nations or use the time to become better versed in a variety of languages, one of her hobbies, according to Yves. He felt a deep sadness to lose this man. He was one of the best men Gregorio had met outside of Estolia. His love and devotion for his wife were as deep and beautiful as that shared between many Estolian couples. After the service was over, they both expressed their heartfelt condolences to Yves' wife and sons. He felt emotionally drained when he finally escorted Wraith out to the limousine waiting to take them to the airport.
Apollyon's lies exacerbated, confused. Succession smooth rise, 'twas antiquated. The dagger was used. The royal succession, Estolian traditions, promises we revere.